have Waylon Pritchett here with me today because you have been mentioned several times throughout the history of the podcast. You always get like a name drop somehow when we start talking about hunting stories. So you're finally here. I get to record with you.
Yeah, I'm here today to talk about one of my favorite things, turkey hunting.
Turkey hunting. Perfect. Because if you listen to our last podcast, we started off confident thinking, and then as we started telling stories, we're like, yeah, we actually don't know anything and we need an expert. And Waylon was the man to bring in for sure for that. But I would like to go back prior to turkey hunting, Waylon, and kind of just get to know you before we get to the turkeys. Do you have a first like really vivid memory outdoors? Does it involve turkeys or is it like camping?
What it involves turkeys. I remember my dad took me and my brother when we were really young. I think I was only 6 or 7 years old. Took us up to Hobble Creek, and we weren't even turkey hunting. We were just he wanted to call one in with us there, and I remember sitting there, probably playing with sticks, playing with leaves and dirt, and I remember this turkey came in and he gobbled probably only 40 yards away, and me and my brother jumped out of our skin, probably a foot off of the ground, and just were so excited and scared and nervous of this, my dad calling in this turkey 40 yards away.
Yeah.
So that was one of my first memories outdoors. My dad took me and my brother on a lot of grouse hunts. Same thing, just up the canyon for the morning or for the evening to go grouse hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of fishing trips. I remember going to Schofield when I was young, going fishing, going shooting, practicing shooting. Getting ready for our hunter safety test. It's kind of a lot of small memories like that I still remember.
Do you remember how old you were when you took your hunter safety? Were you still when it was like 12 was like the solid?
It was 12 years old when I took it, so me and my sister were only about 13 months apart, and so I took it when she was 11, I was 10. Going in person to the Springville office and like an old one of those like additional classroom trailers that they had parked in the back. A hunting ed instructor that wasn't a day under 75 years old.
Right. Same.
Yeah.
Mine was in like this stinky old high school.
Yeah.
With an old guy that just like knew it all and been there, done that.
Yeah. I remember going up to Hobble Creek and doing the shooting test, and that was back when they took accuracy into your score, and so you either had the rabbit target or the squirrel target, and you had to put it into like a dollar bill sized group, all 10 of your shots, and then I got the hunter safety done and went on my first turkey hunt just a couple months after I turned 12 years old.
Very cool. 12 years old. So that was your first hunt, the turkey hunt.
Yeah, that was my first one. Well, I think because I turned 12 in August, I had went grouse hunting.
Oh, yeah.
And then I remember that spring going to the NWTF banquets. I didn't draw a tag. And that was back when the turkey units were like kind of micromanaged, kind of like how our general season deer units are now.
Okay.
And they were really hard to draw back then. Probably about as hard as they are to draw now.
Okay.
And I didn't draw a tag, and I remember I was just so bummed out. And my dad took me to an NWTF banquet, bought a conservation permit for me. I remember I didn't win anything at the banquet, and so I'm all pouty and teary-eyed because I didn't win a $30 prize.
Yeah.
My dad had bought me a conservation permit to go on my first turkey hunt, and that lifted my spirits and more excited about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, 12 years old, went on my first turkey hunt with my cousin Austin, and I remember, yeah, it's 20 years ago, still remember it. We went down. I remember that very first day, very first stand, right out of the bat, my dad called one in, and I couldn't shoot from where I was sitting, and my cousin Austin, he could, and he got the turkey, and I thought, well, shoot, this isn't too bad. Like, I
Yeah.
should get one. No
First
problem.
day.
Yeah, first day, we already got one, and that we didn't have anything else the rest of that day. And I remember that next morning, we sat down, and two toms flew out of the roost, hit the ground, and came right down the gun barrel. And I remember my heart just racing and that beat of that shotgun going up, down. And
Trying to calm your breath.
I probably wasn't even breathing, to be honest. I still don't breathe to this
No.
day. I convinced that they take the oxygen out of the atmosphere.
They just take your breath away, truly.
Yeah. And I bet I ripped that trigger and shot 2 feet over that turkey's head. And
Oh, man.
just 12 years old, first turkey hunt, so excited, and I whiffed it. And I remember just crying crocodile tears and getting motivational talks from my dad and my uncle and my grandpa and my cousin. And wouldn't you know it, the next stand we went and sat down, and my dad called one in, and he came in, stuck his head above the sagebrush, and I must have been a little calmer or shot when the bead was down or lifting up, and I got him.
Luck was in your favor at that point, huh?
Yeah, and so that was, yeah, one of my earliest memories of getting started hunting as a youth was turkey hunting.
Very cool. That was mine as well. Do you remember your reaction after you got it, after all that anticipation and build up?
I would think that it's the same as it is now, just beyond excited, beyond thrilled that everything worked out, that we were able to set up correctly, call them in correctly, and just that sheer excitement of calling them in and having them gobble close to you and just make you so excited.
Yeah. I can tell you're the turkey guy because just like reliving it gets you smiling all over again.
And that's how I feel like every year is. I feel like it hasn't gotten old or hasn't changed from 20 years ago till now. Whether it's me behind the shotgun or calling for somebody else and helping somebody else get a turkey, it's still that same excitement, that same overwhelming joy that I still get.
Yeah. I can obviously tell you're passionate about that. And I can know this from just years and years of Cody talking about you going and doing what you do. But where do you think that passion stems from? You mentioned you guys would go NWTF banquets as a family, and it sounds like you had your uncle and your grandpa there. Is it a family thing also mixed with what you experienced when you were a kid?
I would say it's a family thing mixed with my experience as a kid and turkey hunting my whole life. And then about 10 years ago, kind of getting more involved in helping people get their first turkey, take their kids out turkey hunting, helping kids with special needs go turkey hunting, that kind of realizing that my passion for it and my skill of turkey hunting could help and benefit others. Going back to my dad and my uncle and my family, and along with your dad and the NWTF, they were kind of the forefathers of getting turkeys here to Utah.
Yeah.
That's probably one thing a lot of people don't realize is that the turkeys just weren't really here. Utah didn't really have an abundant flock of turkeys, and they had done various transplant efforts, I believe 1940s and 1970s, that weren't really successful.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't till about 1990, 91 when continuous efforts from the NWTF, Division of Wildlife, Sportsmen's for Fish and Wildlife, that really accelerated and really put forth conservation of turkeys here in Utah as a priority. That now, today, Utah's sitting at probably close to 30,000 turkeys. It offers a general season, over-the-counter, statewide unlimited hunt, which is a huge milestone and a huge feat, and a 3-day youth season and Utah has turkeys pretty much in every corner of the state, from north to south, east to west, and really is a huge conservation success story. And our dads being involved in that and being a part of my whole life growing up really has rooted and stemmed that passion for the value of turkeys and the value that they have, and how we need to preserve that and keep that going for future generations.
For sure. I know in the last episode, or a couple episodes ago, when we were trying to reminisce our first turkey hunts, that was kind of a fail. We had talked about not being able to draw out currently. And while we joked about like, what the hell, Utah, when you do put it like that and you go back and you, after the fact, we like step back and we're talking about the conservation of it and really how there was a lack of turkeys or non-existent. It's very humbling to like look at now and realize the conservation is so important, and also to be grateful for what's been done in the last 70 years. It's incredible. Yeah. When you look back, like I highly recommend people get on. Even NWTF I know has kind of like the full history of everything, and it's pretty incredible to sit and read all that and see what's been done.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, I know if my dad was here, he could tell you stories that would just blow your mind. Like one of them that stems out that I've always thought of is they were trying to get turkeys for right here on the Nebo unit, and there was a debate of whether native versus non-native. And so I remember at a big meeting, my dad brought in a whole bunch of archaeological evidence from the Native Americans and what the turkeys meant to them and what they used them for. And they actually brought in a Native American woman that told a story of how when the earth flooded in the Great Flood, the turkey was actually the last one to leave Earth, and that's how he got the white tips on his tail feathers, was from the foam of the river flooding the Earth.
Very cool.
You know, stories like that, stories of my dad and my grandpa going to South Dakota in the middle of the winter to get turkeys, and I-80 being shut down and 3 inches of ice on the road with the trailer full of turkeys in the boxes on the back. And you know, a lot of stories like that helped set that foundation and get turkey started here in Utah.
That is really cool, especially to have such a tie to it too. When you've heard of like your dad and your grandpa bringing them here, and I have that tied to my dad helping too. And it's like, so when I met Cody and he was like, turkey, I'm like, what? Like, you don't. I get really excited about the turkeys, but it does give you a deeper appreciation for that. And I think as you get older too, for me personally, going outdoors, I have such a deeper connection with animal and nature and the conservation of hunting itself. And yeah, the history behind turkeys I don't think a lot of people realize that or understand that, especially probably our youth.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand that. I think a lot of people, you know, go for a drive up the canyon and see turkeys on the side of the road.
Yeah.
people live in wooded areas, have turkeys come on their porch and roost in their trees and eat their chicken food and think of them as a nuisance, and that they've just always been here, and that they don't quite understand that it really has been a continuous 30 years of conservation efforts to get them to where they are now and where Utah is now on turkey hunting.
Yeah, it does. It humbles you a little bit when you're like, I didn't draw a tag. What the fuck? Well, we're lucky to have turkeys to hunt.
Well, there definitely has to be something done with our limited entry season. I don't have the numbers right here in front of me right now, but on a rough guess, I bet there's a total of 1,000 limited entry tags across the state. Currently, Utah has 10,000 people regularly hunting turkeys in the spring. And so what that does is that just creates hunter crowding on that general season hunt, and overall lowers the satisfaction of it. Definitely something does have to be done so that we can get more limited entry tags, spread our hunters out, and especially like the youth. The youth, if they draw a limited entry tag, they get to hunt that limited entry hunt in their unit. And then if they're unsuccessful, they get to hunt the 3-day youth hunt statewide. And if they're also unsuccessful, then they get to hunt the general season statewide. So for a youth to draw a limited entry tag, in a sense, is actually better than you or me going to a banquet and buying a conservation tag, because they get that 3-day youth season.
Okay.
And you know how it is with kids, sports, school, family events, Easter.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that could potentially stack against them being able to go out and hunt. So if you give those youth a month and a half to hunt turkeys, could definitely increase their odds of being successful.
Which I do think is also where this is a lot of the times a youth's first hunt. Having a good experience while hunting too, I think is so important. And I think that time frame kind of helps with that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely gets them out, gets
them comfortable.
More opportunity. You know, maybe if they miss one like I did, they wipe the crocodile tears away, then they'll have another day to go and try again.
Yep. Now that we're on like the hunting aspect, I would love to get your input when it comes to like your go-to, if Cody was to call you, let's say.
Like he did when
he did. Like Cody always does. So real life scenario.
On his first hunt.
Yeah.
I was headed to Colorado and I said, I can't be there, but if you give me about an hour, I'll make you a turkey hunter.
Yeah, exactly. What was that talk you gave Cody? Could you give the audience a little bit of those tips that you have for like, this is how I'd go about taking your child hunting, or even yourself, because I'm sure you could use this.
Yeah, so the way I break turkey hunting down, and I got this from my dad because my dad taught me everything that I know, and he'll forget more about turkey hunting than any of us will ever learn. Turkey hunting is 80% location, 10% setting up, and 10% calling. And so by 80% location, that's finding an area where there's turkeys, ideally a whole bunch of turkeys, and putting those numbers in your favor. Really no different when you think about it of any other type of hunting. You know, if you're deer hunting and you're in a spot that has a ton of deer in it, your odds are going to increase. Turkeys are the same. You want to go out, do your homework. If you can, go in the evenings, try to locate them going to roost. Early mornings, listening to them fly down out of the roost. Visually seeing them in an opening after they fly down in the morning or before they fly up in the evening. Looking for tracks, you know, as you're walking as you're walking, look for tracks. As you're driving, stick your head out the window, look for tracks. Look for fresh sign, fresh poop, and try to just really hone in on a good location. Another tip that I would give a first-time turkey hunter is always, always, always either set up level with the turkeys or above them.
Okay.
A lot of people make the mistake of setting down below them, and turkeys have something in their brain that I think what it is their eyesight. Their eyesight is absolutely incredible. And so they'll take that uphill advantage, kind of same as you and me when we're out deer hunting, elk hunting. We're trying to get to an uphill advantage to where we can look down. And I also think part of it too is that in nature, technically how it's supposed to work is the tom is supposed to gobble and the hens are supposed to go to him. So when we're turkey hunting, we're actually defying nature. We're the girl that's playing hard to get.
Yeah.
We're saying, if you want this, you got to come get it. And I think a lot of people mess up on that and they sit downhill from them, because I've told several people that, and I can just see it in their eyes. It just clicks and it goes, I've sat down a whole bunch. And
Yup. I'm literally, like, as you said that, I'm thinking of me and Cody in a blind and like 2 of our hunts. Like thinking just a hill up above us, like they're going to come down that hill and to us. So, yep. Now I know. I'm sure Cody heard that from you on Coops and was like, got it, not going to where I used to go.
Yeah, and I think another one that Cody reflected on after Coop's hunt is because I had told him that turkey calling is a fine balance. It's not calling too much and it's not calling too little. That I often compare it to elk hunting. That you don't want to be there with your hoochie mama giving a cow call every half a second.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to hit the cow call once every 15, 20 minutes. It's a fine balance between not calling too much and not calling too little. And I think a lot of people overlook that or don't understand that. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking he's got to be gobbling, because if he's not gobbling, he's not coming in and he's not interested. And in fact, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot, going back to the idea of Mother Nature and that the tom's supposed to gobble and the hen's supposed to go to him. And so when you're calling that much and he's gobbling every single time, he's telling you, oh, I'm over here. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm over here. Come over here.
Come over here.
That actually one of the best things you can do is actually let that turkey gobble on his own. That you've got him to answer, and you set that call down and you think to yourself, I'm going to give him 7 to 8 minutes, maybe 10, and wait for him to answer on his own. Because when he does that, he's saying, where are you at? I've moved over here. Where are you at? And if you can get them to do that, if you can get them to gobble on their own and break distance and close distance between gobbles, you really don't want to overcall or call too much, especially then. And I think that's another mistake that people do is, maybe he's coming, now he's at 100 yards. They get more excited. They think, okay, now I really got to call. And I think that'll make birds hang up a lot as well, by people over calling when the bird is coming in and breaking distance and coming towards them.
Yeah. When they're starting to do that, you get them breaking the distance, starting to come towards you, like 100 yards. What are you doing at that point? Are you watching the bird and kind of letting him lead the way?
I'm letting him lead the way. And if I call at all, it's to locate him, to see, is he coming the direction that I think he's coming and where the gun barrel is pointed, or has he changed and moved? And it's the most nerve-wracking time. You're excited, you know he's coming, you know, gun up to the shoulder, you're getting ready, and it's just, you make that little call, and they hopefully gobble at 60 yards and remove the oxygen from the atmosphere and make you jump out of your skin, and hopefully it's pointed down your gun barrel.
Yeah.
And I guess that's another tip that I could give people as well, is you always want to move and position yourself and point that gun barrel in the direction that he's coming. I think a lot of people get caught kind of with their hands down their pants. Guns pointed this way. This is where they think he should come in. Now he's circled off to the left and comes in, and maybe it's more of an open setup. Maybe there's no other trees for him to go behind, so you can discreetly move and turn the gun, and people will move, try to turn the gun, and that bird will pick them off and turn around and leave.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I'm like, I literally am getting just so excited. Like, okay, now I know how to hunt a turkey all over again. Let's go.
Yeah, that's one thing about turkey hunting, is it's just a lot of like little things. A lot of little things that put together can accumulate to success. You know, and kind of going back to the 10% of it being calling, I think what happens is a lot of people watch the Outdoor Channel and they see back east, especially, those guys get real aggressive on the calling, with mouth calls, with slate calls, doing a lot of cutting, a lot of hard yelps, a lot of pitches, purrs, cackles, and in my experience, I don't believe none of that is necessary. I think if you can do a basic yelp, 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 and what we call the excited yelp, picking that up a little bit faster, yelp, 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 yelp. If you can do those two and just know when to use them and how often to use them, really, that's the key to calling. It's funny when I talk to people and how stressed out they get about the calling aspect of it, and I tell them that, and I can just see a huge sigh of relief of like, oh, well,
I
don't
do that.
Yeah, I don't have to do the kiki cackle,
Yeah.
or the putt pitch purr combo. You know, it's just a simple yelp, and go ahead and practice it. You know, make sure it sounds good to you. My recommendation is a box call. I am a huge advocate of the box calls. I believe that they are king in Western turkey hunting, just because of the terrain that we're in. You know, there's a real possibility that you could be set up and there's turkeys 800 yards or a half mile from you, and their hearing is so incredible that with a box call, you can reach that sound out there and they can hear you. You may not be able to hear them, and that they can hear you, and their like sense of location of that sound is incredible. Like, my dad's always told me that you could dig a 6-foot hole, use that box call on a nice calm day, send out a yelp, sit down in that hole, and that turkey could come in and look down in that hole and find you. Calling isn't as complex as people think, and then 10% of setting up is being above or level where the turkeys are. Ideally, when you're walking, you're going to keep the sun at your back. That's going to help you set up on the shady side of the tree. Head to toe camouflage, face mask, gloves. And one thing I've learned and have been doing a lot recently, especially if I'm with kids or new time hunters, well, shoot, I even do it by myself, is to just get set up. Yeah, I think another mistake a lot of people make is in the run and gun method of turkey hunting is they'll hit that call once or twice, not hear a gobble, and then just keep moving on. And so what we've learned and what we've been doing a lot recently is getting set down, getting set up, and planning on sitting there for a half hour to 45 minutes. Because what we found is there are times where either you can't hear those turkeys respond or they don't respond, and it could be anywhere, 15, 20 minutes into your stand, and one answers you, and you're like, holy cow,
Yeah.
he's there.
Yeah.
Glad I'm sat up and ready. Or if people are doing the run and gun of just hitting the call and moving on, maybe they wouldn't have got that turkey to answer and just simply walked past him and kept hunting and missed out on that opportunity with that bird.
That makes total sense. And when you were saying to the box call and how far they could really hear, I was thinking how many scenarios we've been on where we've been in a blind or something and calling, and so the patience is there because, like, this is where we're going to sit. And then it's incredible how all of a sudden, like, a bird will just show up, or we'll hear one 20 minutes later, like you said.
Yeah.
So just because you're not getting that immediate doesn't mean they're not making their way. So that's a great tip. You mentioned sitting and getting on the shaded side of the tree. Are you ever using blinds?
Yes. When we take the kids with special needs every year, we'll definitely utilize the blinds.
Okay.
Where we have Adam Eagle and Jared with KSL Outdoors and a tripod and camera, plus these kids and their guns on tripods and everything that kind of goes into their hunts, we definitely utilize the blinds. And then a lot with my nephews, especially when they were younger and first getting into turkey hunting, because
They get restless.
while we were sitting there waiting for the turkeys, they could sit on the ground, make mud pies, play with sticks, help them keep them occupied and content. And so I definitely recommend ground blinds if you have a good spot where you believe you're up above the turkeys, you're headed to where the turkeys are, you believe they're going to go kind of late morning, mid-afternoon, or if you have a great spot to hunt the morning roost or evening roost that you can set that blind at, get in quietly with your chairs all set up and ready, have your water, have your snacks and stuff. I definitely think the blinds are great for that. As far as if you're, I guess if it's a couple of adults or couple of kids that are able to hike and willing to hike, I can't say that I'd necessarily recommend packing one, especially if it's not an area where you can drive the blind to and set the blind to. I mean, I guess you could if it's going to be within a half mile, 500 yards, something that you think you can pack the blind to. I don't know. I don't love the blinds. They make me go a little stir crazy.
Being stuck.
I really have a love for that run and gun style hunting. Of being mobile, agile, and hostile.
Yeah, I like it. That's how I always grew up hunting, was just getting in those moments of just like getting into them all of a sudden. My dad being like, we got to be one at the tree. Like, just being little. Get between my legs and I'll call right behind you, If you were going to be doing a blind with kids, though, is that something that you would go set up maybe like ahead of time, or get in before it gets like get in there while it's still dark?
Yes. For years, they advertised like the Primo's double bull blinds as 7 second setup.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned it's a lot
Yeah,
longer than
for
that.
sure.
And then when you add chairs and
Mm-hmm.
backpacks and shooting sticks, and
Yeah.
so you definitely want to give yourself plenty of time. Like when we utilize them for the kids with special needs, granted it is on private property, so we know they're not going to get messed with. We'll go set them up 3-4 days up to a week early, depending on our schedules.
Mm.
So I would say if you're going to use one, try to give yourself a minimum of a day. Setting it up the day before or 2 days before, if you can, just so it's all there, and it's just going to help you out, especially if you're bringing kids in, because you're going to be packing their stuff for them, and it's just going to help you out to have it all ready, get inside quietly, get set down, and then start hunting.
Mm.
That if you were to pack it in, make that commotion of setting up all your chairs, you're probably going to have to give it about a half hour to an hour before things settle down and, turkeys think you've moved on or you're not in the area anymore.
Are you using decoys at any point?
Yes. So with these early season hunts with our kids with special needs, we'll utilize more of the strutter decoys or posturing Jake decoys mixed in with hen decoys. Like it can get borderline at goose spread.
I was just gonna ask. It sounds like
You'll see on KSL
geese.
Outdoors, my dad and we call him Willie. They went crazy. They got 4 decoys out in the field, a strutter, a Jake, 2 hens. So we do utilize the decoys, and that's on these early season hunts on the private property. I don't recommend a Jake decoy or a strutter decoy on public land just for the main safety reasons. You don't want somebody trying to walk in on your stand and seeing what looks to be a tom decoy or a tom turkey, a Jake. So I won't use them then. And I think also too, a thing to consider is in the early season, the turkeys are real aggressive with their breeding. They're flying down out of the roost. They're establishing a pecking order. Who's the big boss tom? Who's taking all the hens? Who's fighting each other? And I think they do that a lot in the early season. And then I think as the season progresses, I think they get tired of that fighting. I think I've got my butt kicked every morning. I don't want to pick a fight today.
Yeah.
One thing with decoys is you can never go wrong with just one hen decoy. We've had it where the strutting decoys have scared the turkeys away. I think that intimidation, they didn't want to fight them, didn't want to mess with them. Even same with posturing Jake decoys, just didn't want to mess with them. You can really just use one hen decoy, and it's funny we geek out about these $100 Avian X decoys, these $150 Dave Smith decoys. That's our dad's killed more turkeys with a $12 foam flamboyant decoy than any of these new age decoys combined.
Yeah.
And
Simplicity sometimes.
simplicity, and I think a lot with these new decoys as well, they've just bedazzled the shit out of them. I mean, there's some of them that literally look like rainbow garlic glitter powder bait.
Oh my gosh.
So much glitter on them that
Too much.
you get them out in the sunshine and they just don't look natural.
Yeah. Well, and
all.
if they're not looking natural to us, especially not the turkey.
Yes. And some advice, going back to advice I'd give a new hunter, is the turkey's senses are a lot better than they're given credit for. I don't think people realize that every single day a turkey lives, everything is against them and everything's out to eat them. Whether even starting from the egg of nest predators to adulthood of aviation predators, coyotes, bobcats, mountain lions, everything's out to get them. And so their eyesight and their hearing is just incredible. That if you do move, like when you can see the turkey and they can see you, they will see that movement and you will spook them. I've even had them where we've called them in, we're all ready to go, ready to shoot, just that soft, subtle click of the safety, and they've heard that, turned around, and left.
Out they go.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Too, when you step back and look at it that way, you're right. Everything is against them. Of course, your senses would be heightened and you'd be that much more aware. So that's a great tip too. Especially when taking kids, because that's what I say a lot of times with people taking kids hunting, like what's a great place to start. And even as a family, I always suggest turkey hunting. Because like you said, you can get the blind. They can sit and make mud pies together. I remember on one of Cooper's hunts, Rivers was still a baby. So he's up, digging in the dirt and then taking a nap all within the time of hunting. And it's a great way to be able to spend time together as a family. But then also it's a great reminder of like, you guys can hang out now, but once that turkey's in, then it's good, to practice those hunting skills too.
Yes.
So that's a great reminder.
Even if you're not in a ground blind, like definitely take the kids and bring the kids, and you just gotta discuss that with them of when we're sitting, nothing's answering, we don't see anything, you can do your sticks, your mud, just real quiet. But when they're answering, when they're coming in, or we can see them, then you're holding deathly still.
Yeah.
And don't ever, when the turkeys come in, point and say, "There he is." That finger point has messed up and scared more turkeys than I even want to count.
Is that something you give every time now? Your little speech before you go?
Yeah. We have, like, especially with the kids with the disabilities, we have a ton of new first-time hunters, family, their friends, and we gather around and give a big pep talk of cell phones on silent, watch your movement, wear your face mask, no loud wrappers, no loud cans. That their seeing and their hearing is way better than you would ever expect it to be. So we have to give that morning pep talk and
It's helpful.
get everybody on the same page.
The little Debbies will call you out. Be careful. Well, you've clearly done a lot of hunting in your day, especially it sounds like turkey hunting. You're on the hunts all the time. Sounds like. Is there one story in particular that just stands out to you with turkey hunting? I'm sure there's just so many.
2?
Yes, of course.
I think that's fair. 2 out of like 100.
Yeah, that's fair, percentage wise.
So my first one, me and my friend Justin, we talk about it all the time. We went to Colorado, went up and hunted a new area that we hadn't hunted for turkeys before, and we woke up 4 a.m., left Spanish Fork, knowing that, we'll get there just about daylight. We'll be able to look for tracks, try to find some birds, and we drove all the way to the top of this mountain and could not find any fresh sign. We could tell that the turkeys had been down lower, and as the snow melted, they'd moved higher and higher up the mountain, and we're just not getting frustrated, but I think we were so anxious to just start hunting, like find some fresh sign and get going, that we pulled up and I looked out the truck window and seen where Tom had walked down the road in the mud probably 3 days before. And like, well, he's been here within 3 days, so it seems like he's by himself, no other hands. Let's go try it. And so we walked down this 2-track road and stopping and calling about every 250, 300 yards. Kind of windy, kind of hard to hear. And that's another thing with turkeys is they do not like wind. If you ever go outside on a windy day in the spring and you don't hear robins and you don't hear songbirds, turkeys are the same. They do not like the wind.
Makes sense.
Going back to the predators and everything's after them. And so we're working our way back to the truck, and we're probably only 150 yards away from the truck, and there's a big cattle pond, and we thought, well, let's just walk to the edge of the cattle pond, call down into these trees, see if we can get something to answer. And we hit the call and down the 2-track road that we had been walking and calling off of, a bird answered. And so we got sat down, got ready, and instead of just coming essentially where we had walked into those trees, that turkey cut across the field and came to the edge of the cattle pond. And for some reason wouldn't go to the left or to the right of the cattle pond to get into the trees where we were set up at. And I bet this bird gobbled no less than 50 times in a matter of 7-8 minutes. That he would just gobble, gobble, gobble. You'd hit the call and it'd start all over again of gobble, gobble, gobble. And so I'm sat there just baffled of why is he on the edge of this pond and not making a move to come to us. He's obviously interested.
Yeah. And can you see him?
I can't see him, no. And I can just hear him. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden you can, out of the corner of my eye, see what looks like a red-tailed hawk swoop down right at the turkey. And he swooped at the turkey, startled him, made the turkey gobble like 4 more times, just erratic. And then next thing I know, I look, and the turkey is flying through the air across the cattle pond.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like, wow, this turned into a goose hunt pretty much. And
turkeys do not fly like that. They're like up to roost and down.
And so I get scooted over, get the gun pointed, and my friend, I think, could see that. I don't think he seen him fly, but he seen me move the gun, and he just gave one soft call. That bird answered and came on a string right to the gun barrel, and I shot him.
That's awesome. I've never heard of anyone doing that before. Having them fly in.
Yeah, it was pretty
land
crazy.
In front of you.
Getting attacked by a hawk, flying across cattle ponds. So when we took pictures, we actually found a stump right on the edge of the pond and took our pictures there with the blue pond in the background.
That's so funny. Turkey thought he was having a bad day when the hawk was coming at him.
Yeah,
then he met Waylon Pritchett.
Just out there looking for love in all the wrong places.
For real. Oh, that's good. You had another story?
Yeah.
So many good ones.
So 10 years ago is when I started taking the kids with special needs.
Okay.
I had become proficient enough in turkey hunting and developed the skills and everything that my dad had taught me, and started taking more and more people. And my dad just simply inspired me that, hey, I want to help out. We're only taking 1 to 2 kids a year. If I help, we can now take 3 to 4 or more kids a year. And so I met a young boy by the name of Caden. He was super young. He was only 9 or 10, and he has what's called Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, and it's a terminal illness in boys. They don't make it past their teenage years. It's a muscle deteriorating disease, and their muscle is their heart is the last muscle to go. And so I took him, and I have his stepdad there with me, and I have Adam Eagle, and we go that first day, and we're in the ground blind, hen and a strutting decoy at 20 yards, and I think it was a heavy snow year that year, and on heavy snow years, turkeys' beards will actually broom off in the snow. And I remember these 5 toms came in, and I remember looking at all the beards and not seeing them or seeing small ones, and I'm like, oh, it's 4 jakes and 1 big tom. I'm like, okay, we're going to try to kill the big tom, and they're just in so tight and so close to each other, and we can't get a shot. And if looking back, it should have just been, okay, they're all legal. Anyone that is separated or we get a shot at, let's take it. No, I was trying to get the one
Get him
I
the
thought
big
was
one.
a big tom, and so he didn't end up getting any of those. I remember he was so funny. I take the safety off and I go, okay, Caden, get ready. Okay, I think you can shoot that one. And he goes, ready, aim, fire. And he didn't shoot, and I think he actually probably spooked the turkeys a little on that one. We hunted all that first day with no luck after those ones came in, and I think I'd went out the next morning, and same thing, no luck, really cold, kind of changing temperature and barometric temperature, and turkeys weren't really responding or doing anything. And my dad was successful with his kid the day before, and so he came up and met us in the afternoon, and we went back out in the blinds, and I brought my dad with me, and told him they're being quiet, I don't know what's going on. And so he goes and he just gets real aggressive with his calling, just like, oh, I'll make him gobble. And about an hour later, he calls this Jake in, and he acts like the boss hog Jake, half strut, coming to fight the strutting decoy. And so I got Caden set up on the tripod on the gun and got him pointed right in the right direction, and that bird stopped, and Caden just hammered him. And it was, in 10 years of hunting with kids with special needs, Caden's reaction was number one.
Yeah.
Just dropping off the top of a roller coaster, scream with excitement reaction.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah, it was truly just overwhelming, just to have everything come together and have a kid like that, and so appreciative and so excited. And I'll just always remember that. I'll always remember those emotions that I felt, and giving thanks, and kind of really cemented in my passion for helping those kids with special needs out and making it a priority to do it every year.
I can only imagine. And like, you guys worked hard together too to get that bird. That was days.
Yeah,
coming into it.
And that's one thing with turkey hunting. You never know. It can be, you set up, first 15 minutes, here they come, it all works out, you can shoot it and get it done. And it can be the opposite. You can go days and have bad weather, or you spook them, scare them, things go wrong, or like hunting public land can be really challenged just for how scarce the bird populations are, how widespread they are. That sometimes you could go half a day without hearing one answer, or take a half a day to find one, or not get any to answer, or not find one in a day.
Yeah. Definitely an emotional roller coaster. And then you add in someone like Caden with such a special story too.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. You've mentioned several times throughout the episode taking kids with disabilities or special needs hunting. And I know recently you guys, I think it's recently, right, have opened a 501c3.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's called Kids with Disabilities Adventures. Did I get that right?
Yep, you
I
did. Yeah, at first it was Kids with Disabilities Hunting and Fishing Adventures.
Okay.
But because it's such a long title, and we shortened that down to Kids with Disabilities Adventures. And yeah, it's a new 501(c) organization that we just recently started this year. For years, we've been with Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife and have done these turkey hunts with them and under their 501(c), and it's been great and everything's worked out great, but we just knew ultimately that if we're ever going to grow and we're ever going to expand, we've got to do our own organization with that sole focus. That as far as fundraising, events, and everything else like that, it's going to be better if we create our own. And yeah, it's so far just been incredible with the generosity of people willing to donate, willing to help. We've got some exciting auctions and raffles coming up here in the future. We're going to be auctioning off fishing trips to Strawberry Reservoir with Strawberry Bay Outfitters. I believe Strawberry or Deer Creek with Sherwin Lot and Papa Lot's Fishing. Kokanee trips with Kokanee Crew Outfitters.
Very cool.
And then one great big fishing trip to Alaska that Rocky Mountain Tackle is going to help us out with. Yeah, some exciting gun raffles coming up here in the future as well. Really excited to get our feet wet and get them underneath us and get going full steam ahead with this.
How did you guys get involved in all this? Because you mentioned that your dad, it sounded like he was already taking kids out.
Yeah, so
What's like the backstory there?
if we want to go to the root and the core, and then we got to rewind it about 30 years ago.
Okay.
About the time when the NWTF and our dads were getting really involved with them, I believe it was the Forest Service had done some ADA accessible bathrooms up here at Payson Lakes, and because of my dad and my uncle's involvement with the turkeys, they asked them to come help them, and they were going to bring 16 special needs adults and youth to come fishing at Payson Lakes and use their new ADA accessible bathrooms. And from there, my dad and uncle were 100% on board. Every year going to Payson Lakes, until they eventually outgrew it, that the buses couldn't go up there, couldn't park, couldn't turn around, and so they actually moved the event, and I believe started calling it the Kids Fishing Day, to Salem Pond.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember going and helping with that.
Yeah, they moved the event to Salem Pond, and from there, it just seemed like it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. That what started as 16 kids and adults at Payson Lakes is now anywhere from 1,200 to 1,400 special needs youth and adults coming fishing for the day at Salem Pond.
Wow.
And so that's kind of the core where everything started. I believe as far as the turkeys go, I don't know, my dad changes it every year. One year it's 25, the next it's 30. Probably about 25 years ago, my dad felt like I've become efficient at turkey hunting. I've taken everybody in my family. I've taken all my friends. I think I can do it, and I can take one of these kids just like that comes to the fishing day, and I can take them. And I remember he took a young boy local here from Payson, and he took him up Payson Canyon right there at the mouth of the canyon. And I guess to emphasize the time, that was back when Doug Miller had the show.
Oh, wow.
And Doug Miller went and filmed it with them. This kid in high school, bullied every day. You know, everybody's telling him he's not going to graduate, he's not going to get his driver's license. You know, just pretty much everything stacked against him. And I remember my dad's told this story every year, and to give example of these kids and what it can do for their life, and really change it 180 for the better. That he was so afraid to cross the creek. They had to cross a creek every morning to get to the blinds. And by creek, 1 to 2 foot wide creek. And my dad just pushed him, said, if you don't cross this creek, you can't get to the blind. You're not going to be able to hunt. Doug Miller's not going to be able to film you, and you're not going to be on TV. And sure enough, Zach crossed the creek, got up to the blind, and got his turkey, and put on TV, and was a superstar, and the spotlight was on him, and it totally just changed his life 180. That he graduated high school, got his driver's license, got married, had children, you know, just everything. He did everything that people said that he wasn't going to do.
That's awesome.
And so from there, it really did kind of stay low-key with my dad taking typically 1 to 2 kids a year, every year turkey hunting. And then just as it started to grow and started to develop, more people wanted to get involved and get on board. And Strawberry Bay Marina started offering to bring the kids and their families fishing for a day. So that was included as well. It was a spring turkey hunt, and then bring the whole family up in June, take them out on the pontoon boats, go fishing. And about 10 years ago, that's when I mentioned that I had been inspired to do the same as well, and to help grow it and take more kids out as well. And just getting that snowball effect, we've got more guys that are willing to step up and willing to help. And we actually broke the record this year that we're currently taking 6 kids with special needs turkey hunting.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a chore. We've been successful on 3 of them, and we're fingers crossed that the rest of the season goes well, and we can be successful on the other 3.
Fingers crossed for you, for sure. We're going to have to get an update from you when the time comes. But everyone can follow you on social media, so that's good. They can see everything taking place.
The organization has its own website set up.
Perfect.
It's kwdadventures.org. On there, you'll see events such as the Kids Fishing Day in Salem, KSL Outdoors, and when the kids' shows will air. And that's where we'll also have our future auctions and raffles as well posted on there. They're on Instagram and Facebook as well.
And I'll link all that in the show notes too. So if anyone forgets that, comes back to it later, you can just scroll up from the show and click on it from there. I just love this organization. And when you tell stories about how kids get confidence outdoors and how lives have been changed from the experiences that you and your dad have given them, that's why I love nature so much, is because there's so much healing properties, and also the challenges that you face out there, I think you also bring with you in life to push through what you're thrown at. they can go onto your website and see all the things. Is there a way for, if someone's listening to this and they know someone with disabilities, to get in contact with you, or how are you guys connected with these kids?
Yeah, so it's funny that question gets brought up every year. Mm-hmm. Is how do you pick these kids?
Yeah.
You know, and there's no application, there's no interview. It's simply either kids that we've met at the kids fishing day at Salem Pond, kids that have been referred to us. So if you do know of someone, and our contact information is on the website, email address, my dad's name and phone number is on there as well. We would definitely love to hear from you. And we do also have a link on there that mentions Utah's mentor program as well. That if someone knows they're going to draw a tag or has drawn a tag and they feel like they want to utilize that mentor program with one of the special needs kids that we take hunting, or wants to help us line them out with a special needs kid to mentor the tag, that we'd be more than willing to help and do that as well.
So it sounds like the website is like the go-to hub where people can support the organization and then also connect with you guys for mentorships and things like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's not just turkey hunting then?
No. Again, with how things grow and things change, for years it was just turkeys and just fishing, and we had the opportunity to purchase a deer permit for one of the kids that we had took turkey hunting, and we took him deer hunting, and he was successful and got a deer, and we've done multiple deer hunts. My dad, just the most selfless person I know, waited 10 years to draw a North San Rafael antelope tag. One of the top antelope units in the state. It's where I had killed my state record, or top 10 state record buck, and he decides to mentor it to a young girl that he had taken turkey hunting. And
that gives me chills.
I know. Just, it's funny because, like, you look at him and he looks like he could be the leader of a biker gang. Just this big, burly man, tattoos on both arms, and he's just the kindest, most selfless person you could ever meet. And so he mentored that antelope tag to that young girl, and she's another one that I give examples of all the time. That same thing, just was always told, you're not going to graduate, you're not going to get your driver's license. She's done all of that. She's went to prom, she's graduated high school, and has recently applied and is going to college here soon.
Good for her. That's awesome. Wow.
And we've also had one that was really crazy. A guy had drew a desert bighorn sheep tag, 25 years to draw this tag, and I guess I'm not a religious person at all, so what would you call it? Just an epiphany.
Yeah.
Had an epiphany that a higher power told him that he needed to share this tag with someone special, and so he reached out, and we were referred because of our background of taking kids hunting, and so we got him in contact and got him set up with a young boy that I had taken turkey hunting that also had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy and terminal illness, and was in a wheelchair and chair bound, and we had actually raised money for him to get an action track chair, and purchased him an action track chair, and he went on a sheep hunt and was successful, and very got cool. A desert bighorn sheep. So we've kind of dabbled in the big game. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not our forte. We kind of fake it till we make it. Well, I guess antelope. I mean,
yeah, Cody, you're antelope. Yeah.
Cody wasn't wrong. My passions are turkeys and antelope.
Yeah. Wow, those are some inspiring stories and good things to keep in mind. And I'm sure, as time goes on, someone will reach out to you again about mentoring something. It sounds like you guys have had a successful year so far, and you've probably already been having to take care of, I mean, I know you have turkeys out in the field. Do you have any field care tips for turkeys?
Yes. Number one is take good pictures. Start there.
I love that. You can't retake those. Once
You
it's
can't.
done, it's done.
Does it drive you crazy when someone shows you a picture and it's just like they're standing 6-7 feet away, shadows,
Yeah.
face mask covered, just
It's worth it. Just take the
it's
time.
worth it. Take the time.
Clean it up a little bit. Yeah. I actually was talking to Jeremy today because his podcast episode went out. We talked about bear hunting. And I was like, hey, do you have a picture from your bear hunt? And he called me. He's like, I don't have a good picture from my bear hunt. I'm like, man, that sucks. I'm like, well, I have a good picture with you at my bear hunt, so I guess we'll use that.
Yes.
But yeah, you can't, like you said, just take the time.
You can't recreate that moment.
Yeah.
And it's when you go home to go show grandma, that's what you're showing her is a picture. And so, yeah, number one starts with the pictures. Find a good sized rock, a good sized log or stump. Try to get the wings out. It doesn't always work. So if you can't get the wings out nicely, tuck them inside. And then, what's the Hawaiian? Is it the aloha?
Yeah.
Your pinky and your thumb.
Yeah, or the hang loose.
Yeah.
Is it hang loose?
Get that, your pinky and your thumb on the tail fan. Get it spread out as far as you can. And then, ideally, facing where you're not getting shadows in your face. Take your face mask off. We want to see your face and your smile. And then have the people that are taking the pictures get in tight, get in close, have them kneel down, get on your level. Nothing worse than a picture from up high down and you can't see anything, you can't see the details. You can also do kind of the classic turkey over your shoulder, those pictures as well. Those typically turn out good. And then once you have your pictures and you're happy with them, because it is springtime, it is warmer weather, and they're black turkeys, they have a black body, they're going to retain heat. You're going to want to field dress and get that animal taken care of in a timely manner. I think a lot of people overlook that and think, well, I'll do it when I get home. And I'm sure.
And it rides in the back of the truck.
Rides in the truck. And I believe with upland game, they talk about kind of, I'm sure with all game, once that their internals kind of release and their organs release, if that gets into the meat, that's when it's tainted or doesn't taste good. And so what we typically do is just when we get to the truck, put the bird on the tailgate, on its back with its breast up in the air, take a sharp knife, and you can feel the knob, kind of their breastbone. Start there with the knife, going down just above the drumsticks. Just open up that light skin, peel it back, exposing the full breast of the turkey, and then take your knife, and what we do is we just simply breast the bird, removing one half off each side of the breast.
Okay.
Just going downhill with the sharp knife. Once your breast is off, then you can remove the drumsticks, remove the legs. I will say on a wild turkey that they're not a butterball.
Yeah, they're not. It's shocking too, because they look so big.
Yeah, they look so big, and then when you start taking care of them, it's like, it's not that big.
Yeah.
And
they're like a Costco rotisserie chicken.
Yeah. And the drumsticks are just really dark, really tough. I think a lot of people now have learned to just put them in a slow cooker, kind of like a shank roast.
Yeah, like braise it kind of.
Yeah, and remove the drumstick. Unless you're getting the bird mounted. If you're getting the bird mounted, you're gonna want to remove the breast carefully. You're gonna want to fill it up with paper towels, kind of suck up any moisture that's inside it, and keep that skin and feathers from rolling back inside.
Oh, okay.
And then get the bird frozen and in the freezer until you get it to the taxidermist. And then if you're doing just a simple fan mount, pretty much go right there above its butt, cut down and remove the fan. And then the beards are really simple. You just kind of pull on the beards and just cut right at the base of the beard to remove the beard.
Those are great tips. I was also just thinking of how long one of my birds sat in my dad's freezer when you said freeze it. That one did not get mounted. Yeah, those are fantastic tips too. And that's things that I haven't done in so long too, that I'm like, that's a great point. Stuffing the breast area back with paper towels or something like that. Now that you've got the meat out, what's like your favorite recipe with wild turkey? Do you have one or a go-to?
I've got a couple that we really enjoy. Because we de-breast them and we remove the skin, we'll bacon wrap them to kind of help get that fat and back on them, and then season them and then put them in the Traeger, 250 degrees for, I believe it's 2.5 hours. You can inject them with apple juice or spritz them with apple juice. That one's really good. Another simple one is in a crock pot with cream of mushroom soup. Leave it on low for, I won't pretend like I've done it.
8 to 10 hours probably is the use.
Probably 8 to 10 on low. That one's just a really simple, really easy.
Just like classic
recipe. We've also done them in the crock pot, in those, what is it? Is it like a chicken bag or like a turkey bag?
Oh,
like
yeah.
A sealed bag with carrots, potatoes, and that bag will help retain all the juices to help moisturize the turkey and so
make it tender.
Tender and not dry. And then we've also done, that's been really good, is marinating in teriyaki and then just simply grilling it.
Yeah.
That one's a really good recipe, simple as well. Again, they're not butterball turkeys. I've always compared them to a rough grouse. That's when people ask me what wild turkey tastes like. A rough grouse. And they go, oh yeah, I've ate plenty of those. So real similar, just they're on their feet, they're moving all day.
Yeah, they're a lean bird.
Their diet is anything that crawls and moves out in front of them, or flowers, seeds, grasses, dandelions, anything like that. So not a store-bought turkey, but when prepared, they are really delicious.
Really good. I remember on my first turkey, we kept my turkey as like a whole turkey, and we were going to have it on Thanksgiving, which we did. And I was proud as shit. Like, finally, here's my turkey, and it's on the table. And by itself, I'm like, it looks pretty good. Like, I get to feed the family. This is what hunting's all about, And then my grandma, I remember bringing out, and she brought out like the turkey from the store.
Yeah.
Oh man, it looked like that turkey had delivered the other turkey. It was just a little baby. But that's still, I just remember like, that was one of my first moments feeling really proud of like, I fed the family, But it is always shocking how small they are.
If felt like Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, for real. I did.
Pioneer woman.
Yeah, I did. I was proud. I'm like, I'm not eating that store-bought bird.
Yeah,
I got my own.
Grandma didn't go hunt
Yeah,
her turkey.
Grandma. She would have whacked me on the side of the head.
Yeah, you wouldn't have said that to her.
No, not after she made those homemade mashed potatoes. I'm not gonna mess with Grandma.
No.
We've clearly heard about all these hunts you've been on, and you've been doing it for a long time. So to me, you're an expert when it comes to gear for turkey hunting. Is there something that you found that makes a big difference over these years?
Number one that comes to mind is becoming really efficient with the box call. Like I had mentioned earlier, in my opinion, in the western states, the box call is king. Being able to get that sound out there when you need to, and then also being able to tone it and back it up all the way to really soft, really quiet when you need to. Like early morning flight out on the roost. So number one that comes to mind is the box call and becoming efficient and mastering the box call. And then some other gear that comes to mind is turkey chokes and turkey shells. How much they've evolved over the last 20 years. A deadly combination that we are religious about using is the Carlson Longbeard XR turkey chokes.
Okay.
And the Winchester Longbeard XR turkey shells in either number 5 or number 6 shot. Number 6 shot's my favorite. I think the more pellets you get out there and a little bit wider your pattern is, or more pellets that you can add into your pattern, the better. And these chokes and these shells are just unreal. Sometimes they're almost too good. Like, set up, bird comes in, does the dirty at 20 yards, and you're shooting pretty much a softball size pattern at him. But sometimes it's too tight. It's almost like you're shooting a precision rifle at him. But when the ideal and typical normal setup and scenario of when you shoot at 35 to 40 yards, these chokes and shells are just unreal. Just the devastating performance that they have. And, you know, before I made the switch, I remember went and shot and patterned my gun with my old $20 True Glow choke that I got that came with a free sight. I thought it was a hell of a deal. And I remember patterning it at 45, 50 yards and just thinking, how did I kill any birds?
And now you see what you've got going on now.
Yeah, now this is our setup and it's affordable. I mean, some turkey shells, the new TSS and shells like that are just too ridiculously expensive. I mean, you're talking $55, $60 for 5 shells.
Oh, jeez.
You know?
Yeah.
These Longbeard XRs by Winchester, you get a box of 10 for $25.
Perfect. Sign me up.
Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned the box call. Do you have a specific call that you like over others?
Yeah. You'll have to ask your dad if he has any. Del Rom. He was a box call maker. I guess still making them to today. I found that out the other day. And he was really advantageous of donating and helping the NWTF and made box calls, limited edition box calls for them to use at their banquets and fundraise with. And because I was so young, I was 9 years old. I didn't get one.
Yeah.
My brother got one. My cousins got one. Dad and uncle, they all got one. And I pretty much commandeered my brothers.
Good job. I'm going to be doing that at my dad's, I feel like, if we can find it.
Yeah, I was to say, do you have any Delrom box calls?
I'm going to.
Yeah. I'm convinced they're the best box call on God's green earth.
That's cool.
The sound, and it's like gold member, like the taste of it, the feel of it, the texture of it.
Just also right.
Yeah, and so that box call, that's my number one. The one I stole from my brother. It's just got that magical pitch, that magical sound that they seem to love. Lynch makes a really good box call as well. It's funny, me and my dad have kind of become box call collectors thanks to eBay, and so I've been learning about Lynch box calls that they started in the 1960s in Birmingham, Alabama. No, 1940s
Wow.
in Birmingham, Alabama. And then in the 1960s, they moved to Mississippi. So if you can find a pre-1960 from Birmingham, Alabama, their price is hundreds of dollars.
Wow.
And so we've been nerding out and collecting box calls, and Lynch is another really good one that's still around, still made today. High quality, good sounding box call.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of try a few out, go to the store, open them out of the package, just try them.
Yeah.
If someone comes to tell you not to, just politely ask them to walk away. Yeah, try a few box calls, and this especially for the husbands and the dads. Buy 2 of them. Mm-hmm. If your wife says you only need one, say, no, Waylon recommended 2. You want to have, because you never know which one the turkeys are going to respond to. Some days they might like the Del Rom, other days they might like the Lynch. Another day they might like the Primo's Heartbreaker. Another day they might like the Woodhaven.
Yeah.
So buy multiple calls, have multiple calls with you. Kind of circling back to gear, another one that's made a big difference for me is a quality vest with a quality seat pad. Yeah. Yeah, that when you don't have a rear end like me, when it goes from back to calves and no ass,
you need a good cushion.
You need a good cushion. So get you a good quality vest, one that's going to hold all your gear. Good, comfortable seat pad. Some of the newer vests are kind of almost integrated with like a kickstand into them to give you back support, and that'll help out with the movement and fidgeting. That the more comfortable you are, the stiller you're going to be able to sit.
Good call. I like that. Comfort. I'm all about comfort too. If you're going to be somewhere for a long time, it helps a lot.
Yeah, and like going back to the blinds, if you're going to set up the blinds, bring studio chairs, bring good camping chairs. Don't I mean, sometimes you have to do like the little dove blinds or the little dove chairs, and they dig into your ass and have back support like a quarter of the way up, and they're just uncomfortable. Just take the time, set up good chairs, and make yourself comfortable, because you could potentially be there for a few hours.
Those are great suggestions. You've given so many amazing tips throughout this whole episode. I'm like, should we be paying Waylon? I'll pay you in beer or something. But you continue to give great tips, and I think you're making me feel confident. Like, I am wishing I had a tag now, or like, where can we go?
Well, that's the great thing about where we're at in the state, is that you and Cody can go buy general season over-the-counter permits. Coop, he's under 17. You can go buy him a general season permit, and he's good to hunt the 3-day youth season, starting here at the end of the month. And a lot of people think, well, gosh, that's late in the year. The turkeys are done. Their breeding's over, and those first couple weeks of the general season and that youth hunt can be just phenomenal turkey hunting. That a lot of times what happens right now is these turkeys are still kind of in winter flocks, and just like elk, you're not going to call the herd bull in when he's got 20 cows with him,
Mm-hmm.
that later in the season, as these flocks break up and these toms get away from the hens, that you're going to have a really good chance of calling them in by simply just less birds altogether.
Yeah, so you don't have to give up hope if you didn't draw out something.
No, if you didn't draw a tag, definitely utilize the general season. And I won't lie, it can get pretty cutthroat out there and pretty hard to find places to go. And kind of the best advice I can give for that is don't be afraid to hike. That a lot of times, if you're willing to hike 1 to 2 miles, kind of get away from roadways, get away to get back into areas, a lot of times you eliminate a lot of the competition.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. And really, 1 to 2 miles isn't that bad.
No, just, don't kill yourself. Nice, gradual hiking. Don't overexert yourself.
Well, and along that hike, would you be calling too? So it's going to be kind of broken up.
Yeah, that's a lot of what we do, kind of like in our run and gun method. And another reason why I think turkey hunting's so great for kids and first time hunters is when you are walking like that, you're going to typically every 250, 300 yards, you're going to sit down for 30, 45 minutes. Let everybody catch their breath and relax. I'm sure you've been on some mule deer hunts and some elk hunts that were the complete opposite.
Yes.
That was vertical. We got to get there.
Yep. There's no stopping.
No stopping. We got to get in
position. Every man for himself. Well, you aren't a dad. You're not a dad, right?
Yeah. An uncle. So kids I get to borrow.
Yeah, perfect. Those are the best kind too. You can borrow mine if you ever want. But I think you have taken kids hunting probably more than some dads out there, quite honestly. And I would love to hear what tips you have for giving kids confidence while hunting. You've kind of given some along the way, but if there's anything specific, and it could sometimes too, I think it helps from like the outside looking in.
And so I would say with that is because of the day and age we're in and kids with technology and YouTube and everything else, try to get them involved in hunting early. Here in Utah, kids are able to hunt upland game, including turkeys, as soon as they pass their hunter's education. So if you feel like your child's ready, I don't know, anywhere from 7 to 10 years old, that they can safely do the shooting part of the test, they can competently go to the class or do the online class and gain the knowledge that's required. Get them through hunter safety to get them started. One thing I've learned with my nephews is sometimes you have to stop and pick up the grasshoppers. Let the kids play. Let them pick up grasshoppers.
Let them be kids.
Let them be kids. I know, especially with me, we're so passionate about it and so driven that it's a lot of times it's just we want to just go one stand after another. Don't pack a lunch. Don't eat the lunch. And with kids, you got to give them a break. You got to let them play. Kind of tone it down a little bit of what you're used to as far as seriousness and then teach them. As you're learning things and you're doing things, explain it to them, why you're doing it, and let them use the turkey calls. When you're not hunting or you're away from where you're hunting, let the kids play with the calls, show them how to use them. That's one thing with my nephews is they got a pep in their step and some swagger. They got their turkey vest and their turkey calls, and they go sit down, and me and my dad will let them call and let them do some of the calling, and they just think they're the hot shit for that. So,
They are. They're probably set up better than most grown men, you know?
I would dare say so. Yeah, probably 90% of turkey hunters there.
Yeah, they're set.
Outgeared.
That's awesome. That gives them confidence, and those are great suggestions. And too, with the gear and them being set up, it is, slowly get them those kind of things to where they're feeling like mom or dad, to where they feel confident. They're dressed up and ready just like you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like an emotional thing, mentally. Like, yeah, I'm in this.
Yeah, because what is it? Look good, feel good, play good.
Yeah.
So when they look like mom and dad and got the same gear as mom and dad, that they're ready to go.
Yeah, they're feeling confident for sure.
One other thing I'll add to that as well, and kind of another tip and advice for taking kids out is before you go, and you guys mentioned it on your last episode, I think Coop talked about it, is going out and shooting your shotgun and getting kids prepared and ready for it. And I know Coop mentioned that turkey shells do have some kick and some oomph to them. I recommend what you do is you just take some like light target loads, dove and quail loads, and that's what you let the kids shoot. Because number one, you don't want them afraid of the shotgun.
Yeah, for sure.
And those turkey shells are relatively expensive, sometimes hard to find. So don't be shooting a box of them at the target. Let the kids practice with the light loads, low recoil, make it fun, make it exciting for them. And then you as the parent, you put just one turkey load in, set a target at 30 yards, and you shoot it, make sure everything's lined up and good. In all my years, I found that if the kids miss the turkey, they notice the recoil. If they get the turkey, the excitement and the adrenaline counteracts the recoil, and they don't feel it.
Totally. And not anticipating that too, I think, goes a long way.
That's the number one thing is you kind of like I had talked about of those patterns being so tight is you don't want them flinching. You don't want them to develop a bad trigger pull. And I think too, how a lot of turkeys get missed is by people lifting their heads up off the gun. I know I've been guilty of it. Oh, there he is. And I lift my head up to watch him flop and decide what log to take pictures on and look for a place to have lunch and watch him fly away or run away. So,
man.
Yeah, want to keep the head on the gun and just squeeze the trigger.
Those are awesome. Waylon, you've made everything so digestible that I feel confident. Like, I feel like I could take Cooper out on my own, and it's been years since I've gone turkey hunting. So I appreciate all the information you shared with everyone and sharing those inspiring stories and about your guys' organization. I'm really excited to see what it does, and we would love to help you guys out in any way we can as far as volunteering too. So sounds like we can go to the website and figure out what to do.
Yeah, go to the website, and then May 14th here in Salem is our kids fishing day. Bring Cody, bring the kids, come down for the day. It's a really special event. It'll really take you back, and hard to not have a smile on your face with so many heartwarming kids there fishing.
Yeah, I definitely encourage everybody to give back, and especially something with the youth too goes such a long ways.
Yeah, and that's a lot of why we share what we do and involve Adam Eagle and KSL Outdoors is to hopefully inspire someone that says, hey, I have a kid like this, and I think this is something I could do, whether it be fishing or hunting, or maybe someone has a neighbor like that, and they think, well, shoot, he's home, he's on video games a whole lot. I'm gonna go over and invite him to go to the pond and go fishing for the evening.
I think something too with kids is like having a kid gone through something traumatic too, having a community of like people that are like you and know the kind of struggles you're going through makes such a large impact. So to not only get them there, but then to find them like a little community of friends is so powerful.
And like you'll see at the kids fishing day, and you've seen it, that catching the fish isn't the absolute highlight of the day. That going to the park and playing with kids like them and sitting down and having lunch with everybody and is really, like you said, just really huge and really impactful for them, and makes them feel like they're involved in their own little community.
And that's May 14th, correct?
May 14th.
Okay.
Rain or shine.
The Longs are going to try and be there. It sounds like our kind of thing. Waylon, again, I appreciate you for coming on so much. It's been so much fun. Yeah, I've loved talking to you. If we haven't just got to talk, you and I, we've chatted on the campfire kind of, but never just like sat down, learned all things turkey hunting, and to get to know you a little better. It's been fun. I appreciate it. I'm sure the audience has taken away so many great tips and tools and insight on turkey hunting. Where can everybody find you?
So I'm on Instagram, Team Griswold 72. Yeah. I'm on Facebook, Waylon Pritchett. I don't seem to post on there as often. I just kind of that stigmatism of Facebook is for old people.
Same.
I share the kids' hunts on KSL Outdoors on there. Again, the website for kids with disabilities is kwdadventures.org. Okay. The Instagram page is the same, KWD Adventures. Mm-hmm. And they are on Facebook as well.
Okay. And everyone can follow those there and kind of keep an eye on not only the adventures and how the hunts are going to be going, but also any of those auctions that are going to be taking place to help support too, correct?
Yep. That's cool. Where we'll post upcoming auctions and upcoming raffles on there as well, both social media and the website. The website does also have a link that you can click on to donate. Really simple, just a couple easy steps, and you can donate online as well.
Well, Waylon, I appreciate it. I can't wait to see how everyone's hunts goes, and maybe we'll have to check back in with you in like the fall, see what you guys are up to.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe get some antelope info out of you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Turkeys and antelope.
Turkeys and antelope. Well, you helped Cody out on both, so you know what you're doing. Thank you, Waylon.
Thank you.